You ain't gonna lose if you lose and don't go no more. Just walk
I,
around and drink.
I take $20 and play
$20.
out $20.
Okay.
I used to do 50.
Okay, I can up 50. I got a better job. I can go to 50.
Okay.
Now, where y'all say y'all was going to now?
The
Nowhere.
casino.
Casino.
No, we not going.
Last place I went, I did go to Vegas. I won big when I went to Vegas. Wasn't a lot big
I
money.
did good in Vegas. I
I
started
did
with
good too.
$20 on the blackjack table, and I won $750 off my
Okay.
$20.
Mm.
I do a machine. I won 900 last time I went, but I don't. That's when I was down here in Oklahoma.
You
But when I
fancy?
go
Mm.
else, I usually win a little bit. But when I win, I get up and I'm through.
I hear you, mom.
I don't pay it
I ain't
back.
do too good.
She
I ain't
said
do
no.
too good at Delta.
She too cool. Well, we're gonna go live. Are you ready?
I'm gonna sit right here and ain't talking.
Okay. You heard her. I'm gonna sit right here and I ain't talking.
Exactly.
What the boss say? Watch her. She gonna be talking.
She can say whatever she wants.
Oh yeah, she can say whatever her heart's desire. I don't be king. So everybody got them something to drink?
Yes, sir.
Levi, you got your handcuffs ready?
Mm.
I'm good.
I should
I'm
have had
having a
some.
flash.
I should have had some dinner before I drank this wine.
I have a flashlight.
Oh yeah.
Has to be fair.
Yeah, she gotta be for everybody. What gotta be for everybody?
Yeah.
Dinner.
Okay. Go.
Me and Carson are on the way.
You say- They see you in the camera, mama. Just so you know, I don't want you to think that you can't be seen. Just like, hey, mom. Your daughter said, "Hey, mom." Yeah, look at her. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go live right now. Okay.
We all got frozen first.
I know. Court makers all have to get ourselves together, right?
You have to sometimes. You gotta do right. Because I don't be doing right. Everybody know. Tash over there looking like $1,000,000.
Cool.
We all right. Together. Come.
I'm not dealing with y'all today, okay?
Here we go. Let me pull up my notes so I can be legit. Too legit to quit. Y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How many times you on?
Mama, stop. Hello out there, podcast listeners. This is Corey Wilson. Corey Wilson with Surviving the Podcast, Season 2, all things COVID. In essence of COVID, I wanted to do a show on frontline workers. These are people who are were still out there in the trenches while we were deciding if we were wearing masks, if we wasn't wearing masks, if we were going out, if we wasn't going out. And in spite of all of that and deciding they could stay home or not, these individuals could not. So I want to do a show to give a tribute to frontline workers. And I know there's several frontline workers out there who never had a day off. And I want to dedicate this show to you guys. And there's people who lost their lives as frontline workers because they had to battle COVID when it was in its earliest stages and they were still trying to figure things out. But before we break it down and get really into the show, I want to take a moment to let my guests introduce themselves. To my immediate left. Nigga, I always have to look at that shit. That's you.
Yes, hi, I'm Kamisha Knight, and I work for the Department of Family Protective Services. I've been there for going on 7 years.
Awesome. Below you.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Either one.
All right. How you doing? This is Darian Levi. I work for Klein ISD Police Department. A year in the game as a police officer, but I have 16 years in education.
Awesome.
Hi, I am Tash Nettles. I'm an occupational therapist, and I've been practicing for about 14 years. Right now, my primary focus is working with oncology patients.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Also, we have another co-host. They're not going to be on the camera with us. Her name is my mom. She popped in on me today. She drove in on me, didn't know, and I'm glad she's here. She said she's not going to talk, but we know that's not going to happen because she's still talking now. So I'll introduce for her. That's my mom. So moving through the episode, I'll get into it. Otis said, "Hey, Tash. Hey, Kamisha." And Denoa says, "Hello."
Hey, Hornet.
Hey, y'all.
They out here. And, we welcome live comments too. So if you have any questions, anything you want to ask anybody, you sure can. This is the show for it. But today's survival tip, I start every episode with a survival tip. And these survival tips are not more so lessons to COVID or to the topic. It's more so lessons of life. Everybody needs a few tidbits of lessons. So I try to give a survival tip to people to live by. And today's survival tip is sometimes you have to go through things to get realigned with who you are at your very core. So place above the truth over all things, approach failure with gratitude, and spend more time appreciating and working with what you already have. What that mean to you guys? Tell me.
That was a long one, Corey.
Okay.
Can you say it one more time for the crowd?
I'm going to repeat it for people with no headphones. Sometimes you have to go through things to get realigned with who you are at your core. So place truth above all else, approach failure with gratitude, and spend more time appreciating and working with what you already have.
I can say that this kind of aligns with things that I've learned during COVID. So I may be jumping ahead, but it really has brought out things and goals that I've wanted to achieve even before COVID. So now with so much time on my hands, I'm not attending social events as I would. I am stuck in the house or, really focused on maintaining these relationships with friends and people who I need to kind of get reacclimated with. So it's making me get closer to people. It's making me get closer to friends, closer to family. And it's making me, I'm a creative person. So it's making me test those creative avenues more and find what brings me peace, as opposed to just doing things that are meaningless all the time.
Right.
It has slowed me down. And at the same time, like she said, like Tosh said, I have been able to do things now that I've been saying that I wanted to do. So every morning I've been getting up and, going on trails and hiking and getting my life together as far as health wise. Corey got on me in the last podcast about my health. And so I did take that seriously. And so I've been walking every morning and things of that nature, feeling a lot better. And then also with my job, it just kind of gave me some time to do more things that I wanted to do with that and trying to see how I wanted to elevate myself with that.
Mm-hmm.
During this time, I think it gave you an opportunity to reflect on what matters, meaning, immediate family and friends. I could say during this pandemic, reached out to friends that I haven't seen or heard from a while. It just gives you an opportunity just to think back and reach out and see those people that you haven't seen, those people that left marks on your life, those little seeds that you had along the way, and those people that they was a good part of your life. So it's an opportunity. It was a good opportunity for you to go back and reach back and talk to those people. So that was a good eye opener for me. And I think this pandemic was just God's way of making us have a hard stop and go to what matters, what really matters. And, I always tell people, you got to have faith. So you got to line yourself you got to line yourself vertical and stop lining yourself horizontal. That's kind of like what we didn't live the life, but we worried about what's going on across, rather than worried about what's going on up and down with God. So.
I like that.
Too.
None of you guys described what the survival tip was. And y'all went into your survival mode. I'm gonna respect it because you guys are frontline workers. You're like the police today. But to me, I picked the survival tip mainly because sometimes people, when they get into a rough patch, a storm, they feel like they want to give up. And I tell people sometimes he take you through some things to realign you, because sometimes things will be going so good to where you kind of remove yourself from him. And I'm not trying to get spiritual, even though I am a spiritual being. Some people, I don't want people to feel like I'm forcing God on them. But I think sometimes he pushed you through some stuff for you to realign your value and see your worth. And sometimes when people start living these falsehoods, sometimes they start fabricating a little bit. They start kind of pushing the truth. They start kind of doing it. And then like when they fail, they try to make an excuse for why they failed to somebody else's reason. So what it says is really like, when you're going through a tough spot, it's okay to be honest with people and say, hey, this is not a good time, or whatever the case may be. And then if you fail at something, I failed at something, ask for help. And, we always asking God for something. And I'm not saying tangible things. We always ask him for something that we can hold on to or grasp. But sometimes you just have to work with what you have. Have you ever thought about, if nothing else came your way, would you be able to survive with what you have, what you set yourself up to be? And if you haven't set yourself up on a good path, then that's something you might need to reevaluate. So I picked that survival tip to let people know we always want more. Everybody wants more. We have something, we want something more. But work with what you have first. Can you manage that? Because sometimes he gives you a lot and you don't know what to do with it. So that was the reason I selected that survival tip, and that's what it means to me. And it's okay. But I love each and every one of y'all anyway. So we went through the survival mode already, and you guys understand what survival mode is. We'll just go ahead and get to it. And I tell everybody every week, I use this moment to educate voters. So what I want to do is educate voters as much as I possibly can, and teach nuggets of what is the reason for what. And it's not anything to keep. It's not anything to push anybody away or make you feel less than. It's just to educate you. And it's not to give you too much at one time. It's giving you nuggets of joy. So the two things that I want to touch base on today is the Lincoln Project. And I don't know if you guys are aware what the Lincoln Project is. The Lincoln Project was really founded to elect Republicans. Their main goal is to elect a Republican. And so, in 2016, this team really worked hard to elect a Republican. And a lot of people don't understand, but the Republican Party settled for Donald Trump. At one point, they were working hard for him not to be their candidate. They turned their back on him as a whole, and he still made it through the nomination. And when he made it through the nomination, they got behind him. And, his rhetoric is very dangerous. We all know what we've been dealing with for the past 3.5 years. They realize this as well. So they have a new movement. And this is the first time in this movement that they have worked to defeat their own. So their goal for this particular election is to defeat Donald Trump. They feel like Donald Trump is not a Republican. They feel like Donald Trump is a part of a party called Trumpism. So he's not really representing Democrat, Republican, anyone. He's representing himself. So this is I just want to educate people, because I know that they have their own line of ads and promotion going against Donald Trump. And I've been seeing a lot of Democrats fight back and say, oh, let's not forget y'all put him in office. That may have very well be. And I want people to understand that might very well be. That's what they did. But everybody makes mistakes, and we all make mistakes, and they're trying to right the wrongs that they made. So we should welcome that. As you saw in this Democratic convention, there are different Republicans coming around, and they're speaking at the convention. This is a major first. So we should receive them and not try to fight them with that aggressiveness, saying, oh, let's not get y'all voted him in. there's a lot of people regret their vote. There's a lot of people regret their vote every day, I'm sure. So let's welcome those people in. And also, I want to go back and double back on mail-in voting. As we all know, we've been watching the news that Donald Trump has basically brought in one of his largest donors to become the Postmaster General, and they're basically trying to sabotage this election by preventing mail-in ballots. Now, the mail-in ballot process has been a part of this American infrastructure forever, and a lot of Republicans, more Republicans than Democrats, vote by mail. But now the request for Democrats' applications for ballot by mail has really soared since the pandemic. So Donald Trump is doing what he can to prevent people to vote. So I know the final date for you to request a ballot is October 23rd. But if you know in your hearts of hearts that you can vote by mail, when you do know Texas has an asterisk, meaning that you have to have a excuse on why you're voting by mail, and COVID is not an excuse. You must be disabled or previous, and we talked about it, and I'll revisit it again. Do not wait till October 23rd. If you know you have a family member that's disabled and you know they need to vote by mail, if you know you have people in your life that vote by mail every year, what I ask and encourage people to do is go ahead and print out that application for them now. We're in August. Help them now. Go ahead and send that in, because what he's done is he removed a lot of equipment. He removed a lot of mailboxes to prevent that. And so we want to make sure that we want to stop that, and we want to do what we can. So do know that. Take this and print this out. And just like you register voters, I encourage those groups that go out and register voters. When you go out and register voters, print you out applications for ballot by mail. And you'll see that you are going to these homes that you're registering people to vote. Go ahead and submit an application for them to vote by mail as well. So they'll receive that ballot in the mail. They'll be able to vote comfortably and be able to send that off in a timely manner. So it will not be an issue. I do want to let you know you can request the application by mail online, or you can simply print this PDF, which will be available at our website, and you can go from there. Texas has a different set of rules, and some other states have their own set of rules and everything as well. But being that we are in Texas, I'm focusing on it. But I want everybody to really, really do their part wherever you are in this country, to educate yourself on the mail-in ballot process and help someone. Help a elderly person, help someone who you know is disabled, help someone that you know votes by mail. If you do not vote by mail, typically, please do not try to do it this time. You have to have an excuse in Texas, and they can deny that. So what I encourage people, and what we'll talk about next week, is how we'll be able to mobilize and assist people for getting them to the polls who normally do not go to the polls. This is very important that we need as many people as possible to vote this year. So I just want to let people know that you really need to vote. Early voting is October 13th through October 30th. So that's my education piece for this episode. Anybody on the call want to chime in or add anything to that?
Ooh, no, you told it all.
Absolutely. Great information.
One thing is I did sign up to be a volunteer to register to vote. So that's one of my things that I'm gonna get out there on the corners, and I'm gonna start pushing people to register people to vote. That's, have to go back to it. I know it's something that I always do in my organization. So I'm back at that. That's back to square one. Going back to try to register people to vote. And I'm glad you talked about that mail-in ballot, because I'm definitely need to get that out for those people who need that. And I'm glad you were able to educate me on that piece about the Texas, about you got to explain why. So thank you for that.
Texas does not allow you to, like an able-bodied young person, you cannot vote by mail. Some states allow it, but you have to have an excuse in Texas, and they're very strenuous on their excuses. So like I tell people, a lot of people saying, I'm voting by mail because of COVID. Texas has voted. It is not an excuse. So they're not allowing it at all. I want people to know that. So I appreciate that. Thank y'all. So let's get into it. We're getting to our first. The episode is Frontline Workers. It's all things frontline workers. As you know, I'm not a frontline worker. I am a background singer. So I'm going to let my panel really take this episode. First, they all introduce themselves. We have a social worker, we have a police officer, and we have a medical occupational therapist. They all respectively have responsibilities in their field that could not stop them from staying at home like the most of us. The most of us stayed at home and we had to figure things out. They actually had to still get out there and hit the pavement. So I just want to start with the first question. Tell us when you got the news about the pandemic and how was it? What was going on in your head at the time when you actually got the news about the pandemic, knowing that what field you're in?
I'll talk first. When I initially got the news, I was out of town, and I remember seeing people in the airports with masks on, Cloroxing airplanes, and I said, they are doing too much. Like, this is just a little virus that's going around. It's not that serious. We don't need masks or anything. So fast forward, maybe like 2 weeks after returning home, the entire country just shuts down. And so in my head, I'm a little confused about, is this going to be a temporary thing? Surely they know what's going on. Surely it's something that's not spreading as fast as they say it is. You know, it's fake news, as they say. So here we are in August, and things are progressively getting worse, then they get a little better, and then it gets even worse. So it has really shined the light on the fact that we don't have a hold of this. So I started off not really taking everything seriously. I knew that I would still be going to work. I knew that nothing would change with that. Like, literally, it would have to be an atomic bomb before we didn't have to go in. And I, at first, didn't consider myself, essential. I mean, I do therapy, but I'm thinking, well, these people don't really need therapy, but they were still showing up. They were still wanting therapy. They did not decide to close any of the clinics. As long as they were coming in, then we're still treating people. And every week we are changing different precautions that we do. So, like I said, we started off, and it wasn't as serious as we thought it was. And then we started to realize the seriousness of it and make changes accordingly.
Okay. Well, I can speak on when COVID hit. Now, my significant other, my beautiful wife, is a nurse manager. So I was kind of getting the inside scoop from a hospital standpoint about how, hey, things is about to really go south real quick. And I just happened to go to Sam's. I'm in Sam's. All I see is all these people in here loading all this water and this toilet paper. I said, let me grab a couple of bottles of water, a couple of cases of water. Just being very honest and transparent. Went home, got out. Next thing you know, with work-wise, they was like, well, hey, with this going on, we're going to bring everybody on shift. We're going to switch because this was during spring break for us, and it was about to end spring break. So they was like, hey, we're going to change them since next week. We're going to be out next week. We're going to change the shift up a little bit. We're going to have a little bit more officers on. We want to be kind of visual to be help to our other counterparts, meaning the county or the city of Houston or our precinct. So it kind of switches around, and we just start working, and we just work constantly. We came in, did our hours, made sure that we did our part as a law enforcement to make sure people, hey, stay safe. Make sure you're doing what what the county judge is asking us to do, making sure you're doing what the mayor of Houston is telling you to do, and at the same time, making sure we follow our guidelines as a police department for the highest do.
So for me, speaking about spring break, I was on spring break with my daughter, and we were in the bed, and my supervisor called, and she was like, we're not going back until this date. What are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. I'm still on spring break. So like everybody else said, seeing stuff on the news, I do watch like a portion of the day, watch like an hour of CNN. And so I saw like a newscast where it said, make sure to cover your nose, or if you're sneezing, buy tissue. So I'm like, okay. And then I go into the store. So I'm like, let me buy some stuff, just like water and Clorox. I already had that stuff because I just had a housewarming party. So it was just like, let me stock up on some more stuff. But then I'm like, why is all the toilet paper gone? I'm like, they said tissue like Kleenex. Why is the toilet paper gone? So I'm like, okay, well, let me buy some toilet paper too. And then they just, until today, is still sending emails like we're going to keep pushing back the work at home. And which is kind of a little bit strange for us because we're mobile workers. So we can work from anywhere. So when they say you're a work at home, for me, it's not really, I guess, catered to me because I'm an investigator and I'm in the streets and at home anyways. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I guess I got to figure out what to do with my kid because it's just me and her here and she still has to do school. So that was the panic for me of what to do. Do I send her to my mom in Austin? Because it's like, what if something really bad happens? How do I get to her if she's there? And then it's like, well, if you have to work, lean on your village, but your village is going through the exact same problems that you're having with their kids. So it was kind of a little bit of an anxiety problem for me, but it worked itself out in the end.
Good. So what you say, Mama? What you have?
What mom say?
She gonna say, "What about me?"
Please get mom. We want to hear mom's story too.
Mom, you have a story, they want to hear you.
Mom retired.
That's where I need to be.
But I teach CPR, so we have to be vigilant too. I have to take their temps before they come in. They have to sanitize. They have to wear gloves because the mannequins, people use them over and over again. And I have to make sure they sterilize and clean because some people will come in and say they caught something from you. So you have to really, really be careful. And in dialysis, when you go in the building, they got to take your temperature. No visitors can come in anymore, just like at nursing home. You can't have people come in anymore. You got to go in by yourself. So it's really a change for a lot of people because they like that support and they can't have it anymore. They don't like being by themselves. So it's really a big change for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right, frontline work. So, thank you for that, co-host. But okay, so the news hit, like you said, everybody, you thought it wasn't that serious, and somebody like, okay, everybody's buying tissue. Well, let me do my part. So let's talk about as a frontline worker when your job actually called you and they approach you and say, hey, okay, we're gonna back that up. You're actually not getting off. You're just gonna have to find a different way to do your job. You're still gonna have to interact with people. You still need to, talk. And this is during a time where we didn't have masks and anything. So tell us about that. What, how did you approach it and what did you think about when it was time to hit?
So for me, I was like, I have to go into people's houses. I didn't have to go into schools anymore because schools were closed, forever spring break or whatever. I was like, look, I'm not going into anybody's house. I'm not bringing anything back to my house, to my kids. So we're going to have to work something out. Eventually, they changed it to where we were able to change stuff up. But I was like, I'm not doing that. I will still see my kids when I need to see them. But we're not about to do that. And I can't take care of my kid if I can't take care of myself. So I let them know up front that that's what was going to happen. And there was a little pushback at the beginning, and then policy changed, and so it was not as bad. But that was my thing, was I had to let my job know that I wasn't doing the norm, because again, like you said, we didn't have no mask, we didn't have gloves, or we didn't even really know how the stuff was spreading. But we still have these kids that need to be seen. The cases, I will say, they never stop. The cases come in like we ain't even in COVID. So we still had to do our job like it was a regular day, just not do it in a regular way.
With us, we are a hospital-based outpatient clinic. So we had PPE that was plentiful. We started off just, wear a mask when you're with your patients. I started wearing gloves more. So then maybe a few weeks later, it's now you need to wear the N95 masks. So we wore those. And after that, they would implement different things every time. It seemed like every time we came to work, there was something else new we had to do. It was have all the patients wash their hands before you start your session. That we couldn't have visitors. They couldn't have visitors when they first came. We would take their temperature when they first came in the office, and then they started stopping them downstairs. You couldn't even enter the building unless you had your temperature taken. And I remember that at some point um, they started they decreased our hours because a lot of patients got scared. But then there were some who still needed therapy, and they weren't stopped. They weren't going to not come, so they still came. So when we would go out and help other people screen for their employees coming to work, we would take temperatures. So that in itself was a stressful situation, because here you are taking people's temperature, and you have your mask, you have your N95, you have your gloves, and you're taking temperatures as they come. If their temperature is above, this particular place had 100.4. So if their temperature was 100.4 and above, then they had to sit there and wait 15 minutes. And then you took it again. And if it was still at that point, then you had to tell them that they couldn't come to work. So that was the same for us. If our temperature was above a certain level, then we couldn't go to work. So if anybody who knows me, I'm a jack of all trades. So I'm helping a friend out in home health. So I'm a bit nervous and leery about that. So I go gloves on, washing my hands, mask, asking them to put their masks on too, which was very nerve wracking. So I decided to stop doing that until I felt more comfortable with doing it. So, as well, another place where I worked, they had active COVID cases. So here you are wanting to do your job, okay, wanting to give therapy like you're supposed to. This is what you signed up to do. And I remember having that conversation with my mother. If they tell you that you need to treat someone who has COVID, what are you going to do? And I'm like, well, mama, that's my job. That's what I signed up to be, a healthcare worker. And I know that sometimes I'm needed in situations that may not be the safest. And this has definitely been a test of that time. So I'm going in to see these patients, and full PPE, and I'm coming out and I'm just like, I just want to go to a disinfecting shower. Like, I don't know what's happened. I'm hoping that this PPE has done its job and protected me from anything or any possibility of being infected. But things really got real. That right there was very real. In my outpatient clinic, I can control it. If you've been diagnosed with COVID, hey, you can't come in.
Right.
And you won't be coming in until you produce a doctor's note saying that you have had a negative test result. So this other environment, this inpatient place where I need to go and I need to help people, they're there and they need help. You
Right.
know, they're weak. They have no strength because they've been in bed. Um, some of them can't breathe, so they have respiratory issues. I mean, I am needed. I need to help them. That is exactly what I signed up for. So it has really tested my faithfulness. It has really tested my heart, you know, my giving spirit, and my dedication to being a therapist and helping people.
Okay, so going into when it when it came down the pipeline from us with our department, for one of the first thing we did, we said, well, hey, we can't, patrol room. We won't go into the patrol room. Basically, we start doing it. We start using like a video chat, which was house party, as that was like our roll call. We would roll call, make sure everybody that was on shift, you got on shift. We had our first thing was a Zoom meeting. We had a big Zoom meeting for the whole department. We talked, and then we went into basically breaking down into the house party app, using it as our check in. Hey, this is what you're doing today, and that's kind of how we went. We were supplied gloves. We were supplied PPE. So we were supplied those type of things. So I can say we became very safe as a department to make sure that we didn't catch it as a department, or we made sure if you had to interact with someone, you made sure you kept your distance, made sure you had on your mask. If you had to do something in that guidelines. We the schools, we shut the schools down. Nobody could enter the schools. We basically just shut everything down. Nobody could go in. If you went in, we called in and say, hey, what is this employee? This employee is trying to get in. At this moment, we was letting them know the building is shut down. And so you had employees who really wanted to come in and get some of their things because, hey, this is spring break. They knew they was gonna come back. You think about science teachers who have animals in their classroom. These people try to get and feed these animals. So it had to be, we opened it up. It had to be the principal had to be notified. Just certain things that was done. We did everything careful. They went and sanitized all the schools. Make sure everything is clean because again, we was looking to be coming back to school very soon, but it just didn't happen. So when you get to dealing when you have cases, when you have incidents that popped up, you want to make sure that, hey, I'm making sure that I'm safe. Um, when you look at one of us, if one of the if a coworker, one of my partners, or someone end up getting COVID, you have to find around who were they around. Because if they was around somebody, hey, you got to go home. You need to go get tested. You need to be 14 quarantine. So we had a couple of that went around just because just you was by that person. So we just want to make sure it didn't take down because it could take down a whole shift.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, just because I'm around you, we want to make sure you good. We want to make sure we went down the list who you was in contact with, and then one of the things about, this, with my wife being in healthcare, me being a policeman, my son, he was in college. We told him, hey, you in college, you stay there. We paying for your apartment. You stay there. You good. You keep yourself. I mean, we would drive to San Marcos. We would buy groceries. We would bring it to him. You don't have to get out there. You don't have to leave that house, that apartment. You stay there. We'll bring you food, and we rein back and allow him to go to the store because it wasn't as big as it was starting here in Houston. But we definitely made sure that we were safe as a whole, as a department, and also as a family.
All right. Commissioner, anything?
I already talked, Corey.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. And but like Shalay was saying in the comments that people don't, even though schools were closed, it forced the educators. They had to become frontline workers as well.
Yeah.
There was a lot distributing technology. They still had the meal program going on for the schools, for the students, because sometimes that's the only time the kids eat. Then they start trying to work around, trying to find innovative ways to allow this digital process, because most of the schools, as we know it, is a physical presence, and that's what they were all used to. And so you have to change that up for them. So like Shalay says, they've been working nonstop during this pandemic, and some teachers report to empty classrooms because it's just a lot. And then now that they're putting the schools back online for money, they're the sacrificial lambs, and so it's just so much happens, so much chaos because of this is so uncertain. But like Elliot in the comments too, he's saying don't forget about the last responders, the undertakers. They have a lot they have to endure too,
Absolutely.
because in our culture we really like to pay our respects, and so funerals look different, memorials looking different, and so how do you tell someone you can't have an open casket, or you can't have people, you have to tune into this live feed to pay respect? It's just a lot. The world is different, but a lot of people take for granted that when we were off, and like myself, I was allowed to go full mobile. I travel a lot for work, and we just started back traveling. Pray for me. But at the end of the day, we working to push again to go out there and do different things and make things happen. But there was a whole group that was not allowed. And so there was a lot of, I want to say, misnomers, a lot of rumors, this and that. But y'all know firsthand how it was. Y'all know firsthand what was going on, how to endure, how to work around it. I know myself, I'm still scared. If I don't really, I'm telling you, if I had I bought my mom a temperature thing because she had those strangers in her house giving CPR. And, my mom was like, I think the nicest person in the world, but you need to scan those temperature people and let them know they can't come in. But she probably would still let them in. She wouldn't even tell me if that's the truth. But I just want to talk about, can y'all talk about some of the things that y'all endured when we were at home getting the news, and it might have not possibly been true, or some things that y'all are dealing with that's out there on the front line and nobody is actually talking about it? Because I know at one point, a lot of medical professions were threatened that if they spoke out to the media, they would lose their jobs. What really is happening? And I think a lot of people think that COVID is fake and it's not real and this and that. And like social work, if you guys, like you said, you still have to report people. You still have to go into the homes. You have to do your investigations. Levi, I'm still sure you got crime. Crime is still going down. People are still trying to do what they need to do. It's like there's no rest for the weary. But how do you navigate that as a frontline worker when I have the choice to stay at home and do my job, but you actually have to hit that pavement? Talk about that.
So our problem is people don't see CPS as frontline workers. So that was always our thing. We never stopped working. When people they shut down call centers, they shut down this, shut down that. We always stopped. We always kept on going. And, having to go into people's homes because we don't know, they had to add a question on our survey. Like when you call in a report, does so-and-so have COVID symptoms? And a lot of people put, they don't know. So, I've been in hoarder houses and I've had to climb over, lots of trash and things of that nature. And that contributes to, yes, Corey. I put on my boots and I had to literally climb over trash to make sure to go see a kid and make sure that the house is clean. And, they tried to give you the mask and the gloves and then they give you the face shield. But you're in Texas, it's hot. I can't breathe. I'm a person, even though it's clear, I'm a person that's claustrophobic. I cannot have all that stuff on my face while trying to do my job. People, they don't care if you call the reporters and say, hey, we can't do this. They want you to go check on those kids. So regardless of what's going on in the world, we cannot stop doing that. And we have to think in the back of our head that one time that we don't check on the kid, is it something that's real and that's going to, affect this kid? Or because that was the other thing. People on the news are bashing, not going back to school and things of that nature. And they're like, well, what about the kids that use school to get away from those abusive parents?
That's right.
So it's like, well, at the same time, we can't stop that. But people get mad at us for that. Like they think we're part of education field and have a part to that. So it's a lot of already anxiety with CPS, not knowing when you knock on that door. We used to have the option to go to a school to see a kid to make sure they're okay. Now we don't have that. So now you have the fear of what's behind that door when you knock on it. Are they going to answer it? And then on the other side of it is like when you don't meet those guidelines, just because we're slow or just because we're in COVID, they don't care. They still want those numbers. They still want you to meet those deadlines. So you just, it's kind of a hard balance with it, but you still got to do it.
Yeah. So one of the things definitely, I think you hit something about, and that's what I was going to speak on. We know that one thing, domestic violence went up very high with this pandemic. Because basically, people was living in the house with their significant other that they didn't have to stay in the house with that person for that many hours. It was like, oh, they was going to work, oh, they doing this. So that became an issue. The the fear of going to someone's house that a domestic violence issue, but at the same time, you going in and trying to save whoever that is in that house, but at the same time, you trying to make sure you do everything in your possible being to be safe. And one of the things that we had as a school district is you had a lot of kids who had this technology at home. They were sending in messages saying that about what was going on in the home. So that means because the kids sent it through a device that was given through the school had to be the one, the school police officer had to be the one to go out to the home. In the middle of the night, we are a 24-hour PD. So in the middle of the night, we would have to go to people's houses, make sure kids would make cry outs on the internet. They was making all type of things. So those type of things that we had to go investigate once we get there, then we get to the home and make sure that everything is okay. Making sure that nothing's going on, but at the same time, you try to be safe on your own going in that house to make sure I'm trying to write this report, get this report done. But at the same time, I got to make sure in this house, do anybody have COVID in here? You don't have an opportunity to go in and say, let me check your temperature. Oh, let me make sure.
I have all that.
You didn't have that ability to do it. You had to get in there, and that's some of the things that people didn't realize it. But that's something you have to do. People, like I said, these schools were open. A criminal who wanted to get something, so that's why we had so many people on our shift in the school district. We was making sure we was checking schools every 5 minutes. We was checking schools because again, it was an open door of somebody who wanted to get something. They can go in and get it. And that was one of the things. So we had to be very vigilant on that. You had to be careful. I know in some agencies, some people's like it was certain things that officers was like, I'm not going. I see that's a crime, but it's not a major crime. I'm gonna let that go. And I'm like, but we have to do our job. At the end of the day, we have to do our job. So, when you really look at it, we had to be out there.
I think one of the things that I saw once I started, I guess, getting out in public more as everything progressed, like I said, every week they kind of change the protocol that we're doing for interacting with patients. And so now we are having to wear goggles, and they aren't just regular goggles. They are the goggles that basically suction to your face, because they are figuring out that now COVID can be transmitted through the eyes. So initially I'm seeing people the same way I was when it first started, like, oh, it's not that serious, it can't be that serious. Now I see people with the face shields. Well, I wear face shields. I wear goggles. I wear N95s. I wear gloves when I need to. We don't allow our patients to wear gloves because many people think that they can wear gloves and it'll protect them from touching germs. Yet you keep the same gloves on all day, every day. Like, honey, you're touching germs and you're transporting them to everything that you're touching. So yeah, take your gloves off. I do appreciate the fact that we have more control over who comes in the clinic, because if anyone decides that they don't want to comply with what we say, then they can leave, and I don't want to put my life in danger the same way you don't want to put your life in danger. So, you see everyone with the masks and they all stop below their nose. So you're not helping anything, the germs, the transmission, it can go through your mouth, your nose, and your eyes. A mask is designed to cover your nose and down to your chin. So if you're not going to wear it over your nose, then you're basically not wearing a mask at all. And you should probably stay home and keep other people safe. So everyone who is upset about wearing masks, bless your heart, stay at home. Order your food, order your groceries, order whatever you want to do, but don't put anyone else's life in danger. And something else was I don't think I even realized it at first, but I see all these refrigerated trucks around the hospital, and these are bodies. These are people's bodies who their family can't claim their bodies. Um, they can't go to the morgue because some morgues aren't taking COVID patients, or if they have them, they don't know what to do. So they find that these bodies just stack up in this truck, and so once they get so many in there, they just take them and they take them to the incinerator, and everyone is cremated.
Wow.
Um, just like you said, these funerals, people aren't able to grieve their families like they were before. Um, Funerals are graveside, no longer in a church. You know, it's hard enough to lose a loved one, but then you can't give them the proper burial. We mourn a lot differently than other cultures. We really feel it. It really hurts us. And when you rob us of that feeling, which is also a release for us, then it kind of leaves a void. I've lost a friend, and family since we've been in COVID. So it's been a really tough time to deal with that. Um, and all I can do is just be thankful for my managers or my coworkers for being understanding and just allowing me to go through what I can go through during that process, and not even be able to go home for that because I have a fear of passing along to my mother. But cases are up here, cases are up in Alabama as well. So, you don't know what to do. You're kind of just stuck in limbo. But all of that to say, everybody stay safe and wear your mask right.
Right. And at this, I just want to also add what to what Levi said. People are playing with COVID, and that's what's
Mm-hmm.
not helping the problem, because we have a lot of cases that come in where the mom is mad at dad or the dad is mad at mom, and they're like, oh well, I think they have COVID symptoms, or they're saying that they have COVID symptoms and they won't give my kid back, so I'm worried that my kid will get COVID. This is not the time to play with this kind of thing. So we have a lot of nonsense cases that come in that take away our time from doing what we really need to do. So stop playing with COVID. Yes.
Absolutely.
It's real.
I wanted to make a point too. I know one of the things that I know the city of Houston was doing. The mayor was getting on, the county judge was getting on, and they was like saying, "Hey, well, you can go walk, you can go exercise outside, you can do these things, but don't be in large groups because it started off with you can't be in groups of 5. I mean, I think it started off at 50. Then it went from group of 50 down to a group of 10 to group of 5. So it just kept changing. So with us as being officers, we was out here trying to police people being in groups and everything like that. So that became one of the things. And we had our stadiums open, our fields open, meaning the tracks are open. They got basketball. These people out here playing basketball. These people out there playing soccer. These people out there playing football. I'm like, come on, people. At some point, please, it's no social distance. Y'all have to go. We can't be on the school premises doing that. So we have to guard that. one of the toughest things that I think what was to me that really kind of hurt was telling little kids you can't play on the playground.
Yeah.
Because that's something to stick to your. That's something you know that'll happen to you. Like the police officer, I can't be on the playground. That's not right. So that's something that'll play. And I would always try to tell that adult. I said, please explain to that child that it's not me. It's what's going on right now. And so kids will look at it wrong or different. But that was one of the things, telling kids they can't play. You can't do that. That was one of the things I think that kind of hurt it, because I just know people are really stuck in the house. I understand that, but we got to be safe, because like I used to tell people about the playground, but on the playground, I said, yeah, you might be okay, but who's to say who's out here playing on that playground before you? They could have been a COVID positive person.
Right.
If that person was a COVID positive person, then you got it, and then you pair it. And then I had, at that time it was like, young adults is not getting it. Oh, hey man, I'm not getting it. I said, but think about it. You're young, but don't you have a mother? You have a aunt. You can take what you got and bring it home. And when we come back and look at the numbers, guess who the highest numbers? It's that group that the people that said, oh, I'm invisible. I won't get it. And so so that was crazy, because those people was like, I'm not getting that 20 17, I ain't getting it. But you take it home to your people, to your family, and you get them sick. So that I wanted to bring that up as well too.
I remember when me and Tash we were in Portland, and I think we were told that Black people couldn't get it.
Yep.
I remember that.
We were excited. We was like, Black people can't get it. But look at us now.
Mm-hmm.
We are
Absolutely.
the leading factor of that disease, and so I tell people all the time, while you're at home, in the comforts of your home, trying to figure out, watching CNN, Fox, whatever your preference is, there are people here in this world that still have to keep the lights on. There's someone who still have to control the stoplight. There's someone who still have to answer your call, like the 911 operator, or open the doors here. It's a lot of people that continue to work while we're at home being comfortable, and it has to make them uncomfortable. And there's things you don't hear, like I said, not just police, not just the medical field, not just social workers. There's a lot of professions that go on every day that had to alter their work life, and they're trying to do the best they can. And then we have us as unappreciative, regular humans who want to debate or negate the fact that there's an actual pandemic going on right now, we as Americans, and we're choosing to still party, still hit the streets, still travel, still do anything that we feel like we want to do because we're okay. It's not okay. And I just say that all the time. Like, I have to travel to one of the hotbeds come this week. And it's just very, I'm still scared about it, but I got to do what I have to do. And, I don't work, I don't eat, but we are doing what we need to do. And if you have the choice not to do it, don't do it, because short term, short term goals and those things like, I need this fix, it can wait. Just let it wait, because there's people out here who have to answer. And I remember when I got rushed to the hospital, and before I could get in that emergency room, that lady came out and she said, "Do you have COVID?" She took my temperature. Now, y'all, mine was not a serious offense, but what if there was somebody who had like a multiple gunshot wound or having a heart attack? They stopped and asked a number of questions, and it wasn't a joke. Like, it wasn't nothing to play with. So we have to be cognizant of that. I'm glad that you guys, like you say, Levi, he's on the clock now. He's on shift as well. Tash just got off. Misha's probably still working, and she got a daughter as well. These are people. These are real life people, everyday people who are out here making it happen. And we just need to, like we always want to salute the troops, which they should be saluted because they're risking their lives every day. Every day hitting the pavement, there's a group of people like my sister. She's still out there. She's in the medical field. She has to go to work every day. people are still out there. So we should, if we don't respect anybody else, respect your neighbor, respect the person that you know that's still having to report to work. And nobody can tell you that better than these individuals here. So before we end, I'm gonna open the floor to you guys. Anything y'all want to say? Any last words from you guys that y'all want to talk about?
I want to say thank you to everyone who works in the grocery stores. Um, I try to limit my visits, but when I tell you, I'm so at first those were my only field trips. Between work and home, I could only go to the grocery store. That was my excitement, but definitely appreciated. Those are people who work and help us every day who we don't thank enough. I don't know if there's anything that I said that may help someone or may bring awareness to the seriousness of this, but I hope everyone goes to get a COVID test. I hope everyone stays safe, wears your mask, and wash your hands. That's a simple thing that should have been done even before this.
I was talking to a friend about
Yes.
that. We should have been doing already.
Yes. 20 seconds. Wash your hands under your nails and everything and around your nail bed. Yes, wash your hands. That's plain and simple.
Yes, my 7-year-old says, "Wash your hands, you little nasties."
Absolutely.
I want to say thank you to the frontline workers, also to the sanitation workers.
Sanitation.
Yeah, because if not, we'd have trash all over the place.
Absolutely.
And they never stopped. Those people don't get enough recognition as well. Just everybody that's doing their job that has not stopped. And like I said, like you said, wash your hands, do everything that you can to do it. I think if we had better direction and better information, it would be a lot easier for people to move around. Just like Levi said, it was at one point 50 people, then it was down to 10, then it was down to 5, then we opened back up. But it's not necessarily not really telling us. So are we back to now we can have 50 people, or can we? We don't know. There's just not enough information. So just take every precaution that you can, because people are dying every day, every second, every minute. So be nice to your teachers, and your education people and your medical people, your police officers. I tell people every day when they call and they get upset that I'm bothering them about a case. This is my job, and so the better you let me do my job, the quicker I don't have to. You don't have to deal with me anymore. So just do what you got to do. Let us do what we have to do, and going forward. So that's about it.
I think my final word would be is you have to do what's safe for you. I know I have people who choose not to wear masks, who choose not to be safe, but I'm going to be safe at the end of the day, because I don't want to bring nothing to someone that I love. So I'm going to be safe as much as possible I possibly can be. So at the end of the day, be safe. If they tell you to wear a mask, wear a mask. But I know some people don't. We have got to a point where we have really got relaxed. It became very serious. Then we got relaxed. But the numbers are still, like right now. I got
hence the 1,800.
The numbers are going back up. So, it's like, because we're starting to say, hey, I can go over there and go over here and eat at the little spot right here that we normally used to go. So I just say at the end of the day, be safe, be safe, be safe, be safe. Because at the end of the day, don't take your your moment of pleasure and make it a nightmare for somebody that you love. That's the biggest picture that I say. Don't make it that nightmare for somebody else.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And I just want to shout out to those who have fallen. I know, we have over 150,000 people who have passed through COVID and over 5.2 million who have COVID and recovered. But in that 150,000, there were a lot of police officers, a lot of medical staff, a lot of people out there trying to save people's lives during COVID. And I think they just don't get enough recognition. There were some powerful people who we lost in 2020 who were just regular police officers, medical staff, teachers, etc., trying to do the right thing and trying to abide and adhere to policies, and they lost their lives. And so those people who think they're immune, who think they're asymptomatic, who think whatever, that is fine. I did nothing against that, but just pray and just continue to think about somebody else for a change. That's all I ask people. Just think about somebody else for a change. Levi, look like you want to say something.
I do. I have to say this because
Sit up.
if you really think about the beginning of this year, what was the beginning of this year all about? It was 2020 vision. 2020. Oh, this is the year of 2020 vision. We got our vision. What are you gonna do with it? The vision is out there. Going back to the beginning, we need to vote. But you got your 2020 vision. I'm sorry, you got it.
Yep.
Everybody said I'm ready for 21. I'm ready for 2021.
I don't know if I'm ready for 21. I get worse.
We need to vote and pray.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so funny you say that. I'm not going to get on my soapbox because, like I said, it's about you guys, but you made it so. We talked about that. Everybody always talking about this is my year. This is my year. Oh, God's going to show me, reveal to me. He's revealed to us to sit down. And we just won't sit down. People are making plans. Oh, in 2021, I'm going to do this and do. Oh, by November, we should be fine. Oh, Christmas, I'm going to still have my getaway. Oh, I'm going to do. It's like we are so enamored on our normalcies that we're not really taking heed to our currency. Like it's like our money should be stacking. You know, our vision should be, like you said, it should be plain, written in stone. You should really realign yourselves. And, you know, there's another part of that survival tip where you say he takes us through some things to realign us and bring us back closer to him. And there's a lot of people, you know, churches are closed. And I feel a lot of people are saying, you know, I really miss church and stuff. And that's a rarity. You don't hear a lot of people say, oh, I miss going out of town, or I miss traveling. There's a lot of people who say, I miss church. I just really miss, you know, being in the Lord's house and stuff. And you really appreciate that. And so to see that people are talking about that, young people at that, not just our seniors, but younger people are saying, like, I miss church. I miss those simple things. I think we need to really value who we are, love ourselves. And those people who don't love themselves, of course, you know, I'm not trying to pick on them and make them even worse, but y'all have friends in your lives and family in your lives that really are struggling every day to be alone, because this is a lonesome period. This is a lot of isolation. And some people don't like to isolate themselves to run from their own issues. They have to be around someone. They have to be in confinement with someone. They have to talk to someone every day, see people. And so this is a struggle moment for them. So you have those people in your lives that can't sit down. You have to pray for them. You have to be there for them, and you have to continue to support them in any way you possibly can, safe as way you can. Now, there's people risking it all and say, hey, I'm going to get COVID. If I'm going to get it, if I'm not, I'm asymptomatic. Amen. If you want to jump off that cliff with them, like your mama say, they're going to jump off that building. Do your thing. I'm not here to stop you. But there's a lot of people out here who are trying to do the best they can to prevent and to make it to 21. Because I'm telling you, every day we get a phone call of somebody who died. There wasn't even no signs of illness. Wasn't even died of COVID, caught COVID because they couldn't sit down. They wouldn't sit down. And everybody always say, oh, it's just this one time. I'm going to just do it this. It doesn't work like that. COVID doesn't have a time, you know, like it's not a time stamp or like, oh, they're going to pick me out of a, hey, if we all get sprayed with that person's sneeze, we all are going to get it. They was just talking about how in a school went back and they were in training, and the people who sat under the vent sprayed them and they all tested positive. And the other half that wasn't even near the air conditioning unit didn't. So there's so much unknown with this, but people do not want to like grasp it. They just feel like they're superhuman, and that's okay. We're all superhuman in God's eyes until you call the tone, because you know. He's doing. He's calling people, and people get caught up in innocent deaths, and just you know, that's my take on it. I am trying to change the format. I do want the format to get a little lighter, but I think it's very important that in spite of this, we need to remind people every day, we're still in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Even though the world is open, even though they're using the school system and those teachers and educators as I call them the soldiers, we're at a war right now. And that front line, they say, what's the test we should take in high school? ASVAB, to determine what you're going to place in the military if you got drafted. Those teachers that's the front line right now, because regardless if we want to say it or not, they don't have a choice. They have to report. And it's not fair to them. It's not fair to the kids. And then, like you said, Commissioner said, people are using COVID as a scapegoat. They're saying it. I hear people all the time. They got COVID. Oh, I got COVID. I can't do. And people start using that to their advantage, and it's gonna water down the effect, and then people won't take it serious. And I just say all the time, and we talked about this a lot. People are always saying they're waiting for somebody to attack us. Our military is so strong, so we're already being attacked with COVID.
Absolutely.
Because other countries are limited in their usage. They're doing what they need to do. They're telling people to sit down. They're not opening things. The government, everybody pays so much money with our taxes. We pay so much money into our government. We're rich. And we won't even give that money up to do right by our own citizens. But we'll save a third world country in a minute. And even Trump said on TV, now y'all remember when this thing first hit, we couldn't find a respirator. We couldn't.
And now he's talking about we the leading person. Yes, we the leading ventilators of the world.
It's just, this should let y'all know that the only color that matters is green. I know we say Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter. But in this current pandemic, green lives matter. If you can't spend it, if you can't provide it, if you don't have it, you don't matter. So money is what's ruling. These districts are held to the fire. We get these kids in the classroom to get this funding, and everything is now political. So if we did our part in our own little world, like we gather around and want to play spades, play online spades. Y'all remember when Zoom was really hot? Zoom has died. Nobody's Zooming no more. No Zoom happy hours. House party. People used to get on house party. Bring those things back and sit your butts down and let these people who have to go to work. Traffic is bad. You get out there to the grocery store, traffic bad. And y'all remember when the air system, the pollution went down when they shut the world down for that brief moment when people actually had to sit down. The air was better. We breathed better, but now we're back out there. And so I just pray for people, and I pray for y'all, but I do thank y'all. I know y'all personally, and I know y'all be out there hitting it, and Levi always be praying. I talk to you. I know you work that overnight shift and stuff, and you got to go home to your wife and everything. So I just pray for y'all, and I wanted this to be a moment so people need to know that it's not a game. It's not a game. So you okay, Ted? Ted, shut up. Thank y'all out there. Well, thank y'all for just tuning in. And I know Biden is about to speak if he hadn't spoke already. So just thank y'all for just trying to support us in this time. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night, okay?
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.